The topic of this dissertation is the reading transition from kindergarten to first grade. To start with this presentation, the first topic to talk is the problem statement. It's important to say that this dissertation is planning to conduct the research in Chile, where the reading process has become under scrutiny by educational specialists. In 2011, a study stated that 84% of people over 18 years old have difficulties with the reading comprehension process because they do not understand what they read. Another study carried on in Chile indicates that 36% of second graders read below grade level and only 21% read at an appropriate one. Also, it is known that first grade children from low socioeconomic status are failing to develop reading skills because the literacy process is more complex in these contexts. In a study in USA, researchers stated that families from low social-economic status lack the cultural capital to enable this process in optimal conditions, thus resulting in low results in reading and writing when children are in second grade. As well in Chile, researchers stated that when children come from low socioeconomic status, the school must assume a fundamental role in compensating their disadvantages through a systematic reading work because of the cultural capital deficiencies that school children receive from their families. Then it is necessary that kindergarten and first grade teachers unify teaching methods from kindergarten onwards. In this way, students should achieve the expected learning outcomes if the transition comes from one grade to the other one in a positive way. Therefore, the problem statement of this dissertation is: in Chile, only 21% of second graders read at an appropriate level, which leads to expected consequences in children's learning achievement. Also, those children with low socioeconomic status who attend schools in vulnerable environments obtain the lowest scores. The purpose of this study is to generate a theoretical explanation of this problem by focusing on kindergarten and first grade teachers' perceptions about the reading transition and coordination of the reading process, their style of working with other teachers to facilitate the transition, and their perception about their role as teachers. We are going to talk about the research question. In Chile's context, this study will provide qualitative data to answer to the following research question: how do teachers perceive the reading transition process between kindergarten and first grade in municipal schools of Hualpén? Is related to the literature justification review, for this question is related to the following. The first one is defined as a critical period in schools have social economic transition between home and school. Many researchers from one level to the other stressed the importance of developed and supporting teachers working with children at researchers stated that a real coordination have shown that there is a statistically significant must be reflected in the literacy practices and in the pedagogical practices of teachers who receive training to be joined with the psychological foundations of children's development who were trained. It is important to develop early literacy skills starting in the year 2000. Because those abilities represent the second topic is reading process skills developed later. It is important to develop early literacy skills demonstrating the relevance of an early interaction because those abilities represent especially the for children who come from contexts developed later. Often they are not exposed to such like Bravo in Chile and Pulling and to ensure connection of the learning process and the development of children. The relevance of three principles are interaction with reading, especially for children who come from context progression, where and finally they are not exposed to such experiences, that is, children from low social economical status. To ensure connection to the learning process and child development, three principles are required: the continuity of the content, the progression and differentiation of the skills between one level to the other one. The third main topic in this literature review is transition from kindergarten to first grade. Transition is a critical period with limited duration. Also, some researchers have stated that schools have to ensure a smooth transition between homeschool and continuity between child care and school experience. The last topic in this review is teachers' perceptions and their professional development. The new trends consider learning to teach as a process that generates the conditions for teachers to reflect and inquire about their pedagogical practices. To build in situ, the next chapter of this proposal is related to the design. It is important to develop a
the purpose of the study
collaborative
is to
atmosphere
generate a
between
theoretical
teachers
explanation
to work
about
together.
the problem, focusing on kindergarten and first grade teachers' perceptions about the transition and coordination of the reading process, what their style of working with other teachers is to facilitate the transition, and what is their perception about their role as teachers when their students come from low social economical status. So the design proposed is qualitative research approach with a specific method called grounded theory. This type of design studies people experience with the process. Then the purpose of it is to create a theory founded in the data collected from teachers about how reading process is coordinated from kinder to first grade in schools with low social economical status. About data, it is proposed a collection procedure that will collect information through semi-structured face-to-face interviews between the researcher and kindergarten and first grade teachers. Because grounded theories requires about 20 to 30 people participating, it is expected that at least one teacher of kinder and one teacher of first grade in each school of Walpen's municipality will participate in this study, achieving a total of 20 participants. About the context, data collection will take place in a natural setting, which are public schools from the poorest municipality of Concepcion, which is called Walpen. In relation to the sample, the researchers selected 4 criteria to select the participants in this research. The first one is related to the type of schools. Only teachers that work in Walpen public schools can participate in this research. Second, it's about the reading SIMSE scores. The idea is that teachers that work in the schools that had the lowest scores on 2016 can participate in this research. The third criteria is related to the teacher's grade. Only teachers that work in kindergarten and first grade can participate. Finally, the last criteria is transition of reading process. Teachers that teach reading to kindergarten and first grade students can participate in this plan,
study.
a combination of specific
About the
qualitative computer
instrumentation,
data
an
analysis
interview
program
protocol will be used
called
to
in
get
vivo
data
will be
about
used,
every research
as
question.
also
The
handwriting
information will be
analysis to
recorded to
support the
transcript
program.
it later.
The
At the
researcher
same
will
time
read
of the
code and
recording,
analyze
the
data.
researcher will take notes to
Roosevelt
ensure the
suggested the
information
following
in case
coding
something
procedure.
happened with the recording
First,
machine.
the researcher has to
A
organize and
list
prepare data for
of
analysis.
few open-ended
Then
questions
she
will
has
be
to
set
read
by
all
the
the data
researcher,
first, without
including
taking
an
notes,
icebreaker
with the
question
purpose
and
of
the beginning of the
understanding what the
interview and a
participant
final
wanted
thank
to
you to
say.
person interviewed. Then it's important to code all the data, break it in
in chunks and writing a word representing a category in the margins. To use the coding process to generate a description of people as well as categories for analysis. In this research, the coding will be developed using the steps provided by AC for grounded theory approach. These are first, a coding called open coding. The researcher has to explore data, identify the units of analysis, code for meaning, feelings, and actions, make metaphors for data for describing them another way, experiment with codes, compare and contrast events, actions, and feelings, break codes into subcategories, integrate codes into more inclusive codes, and finally identify the properties of codes. The second step is called actual coding. In this coding, the researcher explores the codes, examine the relationship between codes, specify the conditions associated with the code, review data to confirm associated and new codes, and finally compare codes with pre-existing theory. Finally, we have the selective coding. Here, the researcher identifies the core code or central story in the analysis, examine the relationship between the core code and the other code. Finally, the list of references is presented here with a selection of the main authors used to refer in each main topic. Also, it is included the two main researchers that talked about qualitative research and specifically about grounded theory method.